Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Chris Kenney here, and welcome. What I want to talk about today is I feel like there's some kind of obvious things that can stop people from closing high ticket sales, but then there's also some not so obvious things that can stop people from closing high ticket sales. And I think this kind of falls in the not so obvious category, and it has to do with conversations again that I've been having with clients. And one of the things that can happen is, especially if you're selling coaching, for example, if you raise your rates and you then manifest a person or a couple of different people that suddenly, my gosh, they don't get good results. One of the things that can really happen here is you can really start to doubt your value. And that will obviously sabotage your ability to continue to charge high tickets. So what I want to share with you today is how I've dealt with the fact that, hey, I'm a high ticket coach, and guess what? There are times that somebody will come into my experience and they won't get a great result. And it's like, well, how do you deal with that? Because not everybody, here, look, let's just be real. Not everybody's gonna come in and absolutely kill it. And you're totally present and you're taking yourself on and you're owning your results, you're taking responsibility. If you're doing all of those things, I know when you come into my experience, you're gonna do really, really well. But how do I handle it when that's not happening? If that doesn't happen, what do I do? And how do I keep myself allowing myself to continue to charge high tickets? So one of the things that happens, as you all know, is we can undercharge because of guilt and shame around collecting money. And one of the things that can happen there is, and this is something that I really had to deal with. Any of you that have been following me for a long time know that I grew up in a really poor house, really poor neighborhood. And I had this concern around who will I become, or what will I turn into if I start to acquire cash and I start to do really, really well? Like, what's gonna happen for me? Is this gonna be good for me? Is it gonna be bad for me? Am I gonna become arrogant? Am I gonna turn into some jerk? And one of the things that I've learned is that money makes you more of what you already are. It makes you more of what you already are, meaning if you're generous and then you start to acquire money, you're going to be incredibly generous with your money. If you're a complete jerk, well, guess what? You start to acquire money, you're going to be a complete jerk with more money. It makes you a bigger jerk. It makes you more of what it is that you already are. So when it comes to clients and how they show up, my rule is I'm responsible to them, but I'm not responsible for them. I'm responsible to them, but I'm not responsible for them. So what that means is I'm responsible to show up 100%. I show up, I give 100%. I make sure I'm totally present. I make sure I'm totally available. I make sure I'm totally on. I'm on my game. Here I am. I'm present. And that's my responsibility to them. And as long as I am doing that, I'm going to rest easy. Now, the other thing that's important here, you have to trust that everything is happening in divine timing. Everything is happening in divine timing, and that's whether or not they're doing incredibly well or whether or not this person is in struggle. We have to know and we have to understand that there is divinity in the timing of things, and it is not our responsibility to determine what that divine timing is, right? It's almost like we start to play God, right? And we start to make the decision that we're here to determine what their journey is. And guess what? That is absolutely incorrect, and it puts an unreasonable amount of pressure on you in terms of helping a person create a result. The other question that I would have here is, are you bringing people in from a place of scarcity? In other words, are you having these enrollment conversations, and are you at times bringing in people that maybe you shouldn't be bringing in because you're in a scarcity place? Like, you might be in a place of struggle, maybe the cash flow isn't quite what it needs to be. I know that I have fallen into that early in my career, I brought in some people that I shouldn't have brought in. Because hey, once you develop a skill set where you start to sell better, well, guess what? You'll start to develop the ability to bring people in, but sometimes you're bringing in the wrong ones. So I want you to write this down. Decisions based in scarcity create scarcity. I don't care if they pay a down payment. You might say, oh, well, they paid a down payment, so that's not scarce. It's elevating my abundance. They're down payments. And well, what's going to happen when in 2 months they leave and they tell you it was terrible and they blame you for it, and then they go on their social media channels and blame you for it? What happens then? And then your confidence goes in the tank, and your ability to continue to close high ticket services continues to struggle because you're sitting in the impact of this person that you brought in that you probably shouldn't have brought in because you brought them in from a place of scarcity. This is so important to understand, that decisions based in scarcity create scarcity. And it's certainly not my hope for you that you'll have that experience where you'll create that, where somebody badmouths you or whatever. It's obviously not what I want for you. The next thing that I'm going to share here is, man, this one is hard for people. So I just want you to take a deep breath. This one is hard to hear, but I've seen it to be true. And that is, the 80-20 rule is applicable in every population. 20% of your people are going to get 80% of the result. That is going to be true across the board. That doesn't mean people don't come in and, we have a much higher than 20%, right, success rate in our programs, right? There's people that are doing okay, right? But there's also like that top 20% that are absolutely killing it. Who do your people need to be in order to have that happen? But know and understand, you are going to deal with the fact that the 80-20 rule is going to apply. I want to talk a little bit about wanting it more for them than they want it for them. Because we can fall into that. Write that down. I can't want it more for them than they want it for them. You've probably heard that said. Because what that starts to create in the relationship is codependency. You're going to end up in a codependent relationship with your coaching clients. You're showing up in this certain place because, oh my God, you're trying to get the reinforcement that you want. You're trying to get that hug from them and trying to help them. And you're feeling good about all this extra effort that you're putting in, right? They become dependent on all of that extra effort, which makes them needy. And now they're unable to grow to the level that they need to grow to achieve what they've really come here to achieve. But that can happen because you're on them too much, and you're actually supporting them too much, and you're not letting them have whatever experience it is that they need to have. Even if it's a pain-inducing experience, you need to allow them to have that so that they can get uncomfortable enough to go, shit, this absolutely has to change. And that's when change happens. But what I've seen over and over again is sometimes coaches and consultants aren't willing to let people get into the experience that they absolutely need to have. So if we're over delivering out of guilt and out of shame and out of, oh my gosh, they're not getting a result, and we're helping them and saving them, you could be preventing them from having the experience that they need to have to actually move forward. Folks, we have to stop playing God for people. In other words, we're not here to determine their journey. Our role is to show up fully. You show up fully, that's what you do. Some are gonna do great, some are gonna struggle. All you do is show up fully. You show up fully, you rest easy. You don't know their journey. Their journey could be that they have to run out of cash. Am I rooting for them to run out of cash? I wouldn't say I'm rooting for them to run out of cash, but what I am rooting for is that they create whatever experience they need to create to move themselves forward. Because that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help them move forward. So that's my hope for them, is that they are in the creation of whatever it is that will move them forward. And sometimes that might mean that they have to struggle, in my experience. But I don't put the blame on myself. I keep showing up fully. And that's the message that I want to have for all of you. And have an amazing rest of your day, and have an amazing weekend. I'm Kenney. We'll see you soon.